Released by Square in 1998 on the PlayStation, Parasite Eve would be a horror game with action and RPG elements. Written and directed by Takashi Tokita, who also helped write and direct Chrono Trigger, the game was a sequel to the novel of the same name by Hideaki Sena, and would be Square's first game to be rated M for mature. For story, the game features a rookie cop named Aya, as events take place over the course of 1 week in modern-day Manhattan, New York. For gameplay, the player fast travels to specific locations across the city, wherein battles or random encounters are conducted in real time. For combat, the player and enemies can freely move in a closed 3D space, and an action meter builds up to where the player can freeze time to select an action such as using an ability or firing a gun. Weapon fire is auto-aimed, though accuracy and damage drop over distance, and a dome is brought up to represent the effective firing range. After battle, experience is earned, and upon level up, various stats including the ATB meter and item capacity can be increased. There is a limited inventory the player has on them, and the many weapons and armor that are collected may be modded with additional stats or effects. Finally, the game features a New Game Plus that also offers a new area and an extra ending option. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. The game begins in New York during Christmas Eve 1997, where police officer Aya Brea is on a date attending an opera at Carnegie Hall. During one scene, the songstress spots Aya in the crowd, and soon after, her singing suddenly sets fire to the actors on stage and members of the audience. As the opera house and those in attendance burn, Aya pushes away her date and pulls out her handgun, moving to confront the actress. Unfazed, the actress notes how Aya is unaffected by her song and comments that she should be awakening soon. As they battle, Aya is told her cells are beginning to communicate, and the more she uses her power, the more she'll be like her. Confusing Aya, the woman then calls herself Eve, noting they actually know each other already. A memory from when she was a small child in the hospital flashes in her mind, and in that moment Eve escapes. Giving chase, Aya is surprised to spot a little girl that looks oddly familiar. However, she is spotted by a rat that undergoes a sudden and monstrous mutation before turning to attack her. Moving past the scorched remains of the backroom actors, Aya learns the actress's name is Melissa and has been feeling strange recently before unusual cases of spontaneous combustion occurred. Soon enough, she catches up to Melissa, who is struggling mentally with her identity as Eve. Quickly turning into a monstrous form herself, Eve declares the day for the mitochondria to be free has arrived. As they fight, another memory from her past distracts her as Eve gets away, and following her, Aya ventures into the sewers. She sees the little girl from the theater again and instinctively follows her, only to be stalled by a new monster Eve leaves during her escape, while she taunts Aya that she will understand soon enough. Failing to capture Eve, Aya gives up her pursuit as fellow officer and partner Daniel arrives on scene to take her home. The next day, Aya insists some sort of ESP from Melissa set the victims on fire, and though many officers are skeptical, Daniel chooses to believe her and Aya is put on the case. As the sole survivor for the incident, Aya joins Captain Baker in a press conference where he tells the press of the possibility this was a terrorist attack. However, Aya chooses to reveal that the actress Melissa was killed and taken over by something called Eve, who said Aya survived thanks to her mitochondria. She's scolded for this in private, but Captain Baker suddenly receives a call to expect a Japanese scientist who may know more. Another cop brings up that a researcher at the museum just published a new theory on mitochondria, which are the cell's manner of making energy from oxygen. Curious to learn more, Daniel and Aya move to the Museum of Natural History to meet with Dr. Clamp, though upon seeing him, Aya feels she recognizes him from her memories. As they talk, Dr. Clamp explains that mitochondria actually possess their own unique genetic code, like a separate organism, though Daniel remarks it sounds more like a parasite. Offended, Dr. Clamp notes humans only exist because the mitochondria allow it, mentioning they are even capable of discharging massive amounts of electricity and heat energy. Relating it to the case, 1600 degrees of heat must be generated to produce that kind of spontaneous combustion, and there are hundreds of mitochondria in a single cell, so if they were all activated at once, achieving that effect would be easy. What more, Dr. Clamp puts forth that mitochondria essentially have total control over an organism's growth, have been evolving at an exponential rate over the years, and reinforces the claim in 1987 that said that all human ancestry can be traced to a single woman in Africa called Mitochondria Eve. Aya brings up that the suspect in this case also called herself Eve, and surprised to hear this, Dr. Clamp suddenly turns to return to his studies and ends their talk. Returning back to the precinct, the chief explains that Melissa was originally scheduled for a concert in the Central Park Amphitheater tonight for Christmas, and the public is gathering there now, unaware of the potential danger. Hurrying over, Daniel sees getting close may be too hot for him to handle, and so Aya ventures in alone, soon finding Eve is indeed there. Approaching the amphitheater, Eve declares she will soon be free of her host, praising the strength of the self-evolving mitochondria over the weak humans. With this, the members of the crowd are quickly killed and melted, soon collecting into one larger form. Aya chases down Eve once more, with images of the little girl once again guiding her. Destroying the new monsters in her way, including a giant worm, she once again clashes with Eve, who questions why Aya is siding with the humans and insists they work together, parting ways for now. Meanwhile, Daniel learns his ex-wife was among the crowd that was recently slaughtered, though fortunately his son got out alive. Elsewhere, the visiting Japanese scientist sees firsthand how bad things are, but also finds Aya knocked out from her encounter with Eve. When she comes to, he introduces himself as Maeda, and explains how something similar to this incident happened years ago in Japan, though on a smaller scale. He explains that a scientist's wife was in a car accident, and the scientist tried to culture the liver cells in order to keep her alive. He named the cells Eve, but found that the liver cells multiplied and the mitochondria soon took over her physical body. Eve then tried to give birth to the ultimate being, as her host body would not last long. Additionally, the wife was actually an organ donor, and after the accident, her kidneys were used in a young girl, who was then used to also give birth to an ultimate being. Researching all this has led Maeda here, and Aya cannot help but wonder if she is a monster like Eve as well, as thoughts of hers now turn to her sister Maya, who died in a car accident alongside her mother. On the third day, Maeda joins Aya and Daniel in their investigation, as most of the city is now evacuated in response to this massive loss of human life and continuing immolation events. Obtaining a sample of Eve from Aya's clothes, Daniel performs a few tests in Dr. Clamp's lab while he is away, and explains that normal mitochondria cannot take control of a cell's nucleus, but Eve's mitochondria have indeed undergone massive evolutionary changes. Aya wants her own blood tested, and finds that while she is infected with Eve's mitochondria, her own mitochondria are fighting them back with their own power. They aren't sure why Aya is special, but are interrupted when Dr. Clamp returns, upset at them using his lab. He examines Aya's blood and is impressed at its state, somehow suspecting the blood came from Aya. However, Daniel halts him as he notices his son's name in a list on Clamp's computer, alongside other victims from the park, but Clamp refuses to explain why, and at a stalemate they all leave. They return to the precinct, only to be surprised to find it ruined from an attack by Eve. Finding most everyone in the station has been killed, she follows the trail of Daniel's son, who was being protected by the chief, as the station's dogs have also been claimed by Eve and transformed into grotesque monsters. After reclaiming the police station, the next day, Daniel is put in charge, and the surviving officers are on board for finding and destroying Eve. Maeda suggests this was just a distraction, as Eve's body is probably starting to break down, and is likely now seeking out a sperm bank in order to give birth to an ultimate being. Daniel also still finds Dr. Clamp awfully suspicious, and so they split up to chase these leads, with Aya seeking the nearby hospitals for signs of Eve. As Maeda travels with her, Aya asks how the ultimate being in Japan died, and Maeda explains there was a cellular rebellion, as the mitochondria passed from the father's sperm did not connect to the ones passed from Eve, and so it deteriorated after being born. Finding signs of Eve, they enter the hospital and Aya sees the little girl again, wondering if it's Maya. Eve is aware of Aya, trapping her and almost turning her into a sandwich, as Aya now sees visions of not only a young Maya, but herself too. Entering one room, she is shocked to see it's the same one as from her fragmented memory. Making her way to the sperm bank, she finds the same list of names that Dr. Clamp had, alongside patient records of her own mother, sister, and Melissa, both of whom happen to be admitted to the hospital on the same day. As the military prepares to launch an attack on the blob in Central Park, Aya notes the sperm bank has already been raided, finding Eve atop the roof. Eve effortlessly liquefies the pilots of the incoming jets, destroying them all, and forces Aya to bail as the wreckage crashes upon the rooftop as Eve once again leaves to give birth. Meeting up with Daniel and Maeda, they give chase, and on the way, they learn that someone from the hospital is selling the list of names and patient records they found, and Melissa had been making late-night visits to the museum. On the fifth day, signs are pointing to Dr. Clamp, and their search leads them to Chinatown. Maeda finds evidence of Eve traveling into the sewers, and so Aya descends down, finding new manner of nightmares within, and encountering what became of the audience from Central Park. However, the massive slime collects itself again, but this time drops into the reservoir, poised to infect the entire city. Pumping it out, she chases it into the subway system, and notices it's making its way in the direction of the museum. Hastening back to the museum, Aya is surprised to find new forms of monsters taking the shape of even dinosaurs now, seeing the slime now seep into and animate the fossils of the museum. She runs into Maeda, who's been investigating Dr. Clamp's lab, and relays that he has discovered Maya's blood serum in the freezer, and Clamp has been culturing her liver cells for years. In addition, he was researching artificial sperm that Eve could use without worrying about opposing mitochondria. He took these findings to the hospital and artificially inseminated volunteers for the experiment, but before they could talk more, Clamp interrupts them and attempts to attack Aya, though Daniel saves her. Confronting him, Dr. Clamp confirms that he has been helping Eve create the ultimate being. Determined to stop them from interfering anymore, he allows Eve to immolate his body, but Clamp sees Aya is indeed unaffected as he dies. With nothing left in her way, Aya dashes to the exhibit wherein Eve has settled and is waiting to give birth, mocking Aya as she approaches. Unfortunately, Eve shows she is still one step ahead, summoning forth the slime from the park and molding it into a giant, who smashes through the wall of the museum and safely carries Eve away. As Aya regroups with the others, they share more of what they learned, mentioning that Melissa received a kidney transplant from Maya after Maya died in the accident, and it was a young Clamp, who was just an intern at the time, who observed the operation. The doctor shouted how unusually hot the kidney was during the operation, and since then, Eve moved from Maya to Melissa, where she proceeded to take over with Maya's mitochondria. As they spot the giant creature, it turns into a shell to protect Eve, and while the Navy does its best to destroy it, their efforts are in vain. Surprisingly, the group is contacted to report to the Navy's aircraft carrier nearby, and stepping aboard, the admiral there asks Aya to be the one to drop a nuke from a chopper, since she's the only one immune to the ignition effects. Agreeing, Aya joins a formation that rushes down the giant monster, which has taken position next to the Statue of Liberty. Though her entourage falls, Aya fires the missile at the monster, striking true, blowing its head off and knocking the creature back into the Statue of Liberty, toppling it over. However, before they can celebrate, from the slime emerges an evolved Eve, unharmed, and quick to respond, Aya parachutes down from the helicopter to finish the job. Eve gloats again that mitochondria have been in control this entire time, allowing humans to flourish and create an environment perfect for them, only serving as hosts for transportation. As the usher for a new age of mitochondria ascends to a greater form, New York cop Aya evolves just as quickly to match and overcome as its natural enemy. As Eve finally breaks down and dissolves into slime, Aya points out evolution doesn't always mean following the same path. As the sixth day arrives, the group surveys the aftermath and celebrate the defeat of Eve, but just then they feel a rumble and realize too late that the giant creature still splattered across the island was the uterus for the ultimate being, and it was still alive, as an oversized baby emerges crying from the slime, igniting everyone around it. Evolving quickly, it heads straight for Aya, who knows she is the only one who could oppose it now. Leveraging her own unique powers against the rising forms of the ultimate being, Aya is pushed to the limit against the creature, but its maturation and evolution is just beyond her ability to destroy it. Thinking ahead, Maeda prepared some special bullets with Aya's cells in them, and wasting no time, Daniel sacrifices himself to deliver those bullets to Aya, burning up as he gets closer but falling into the ocean. The bullets indeed defeat the mature form of the monster, but it's still not enough to kill it as it writhes about and gives chase. Seeing no other option, Aya baits the creature deeper within the ship, going to the ship's engine room and overloading it to self-destruct. Escaping the explosion just in time, she joins the others, including Daniel who survived, surveying the wreckage and confident it's finally over. As the game ends, Aya still wonders why only she has this power, and Maeda explains part of Maya was in her too, as after the accident, part of her sister was transplanted into Aya as well as Melissa, specifically her right eye. He suggests it might be why she saw images of her, but more to the point, her mitochondria likely experienced a different evolutionary change within Aya, and instead lived symbiotically with her own. Maeda also muses that this is a dark message that the mitochondria are to humans as humans are to the Earth, in which they are but parasites to their host. Letting that comment fall, the group looks up as the sun rises on a new day. Later, the friends attend another showing of the opera to make up for Christmas Eve, but sometime during the show, something wakes up within Aya, as a new power flows from her and ominously spreads to the rest of the crowd. Parasite Eve has enjoyed the success of selling over 2.1 million copies worldwide. This video was chosen by the patrons on my Patreon, so thank you very much. If you like what you see and maybe want to buy me a bagel once a month, consider becoming a patron for just $1 a month. Otherwise, come hang out with other adventurers of good taste like yourself on my Discord server. Links in the description below. I'll see you in the next battlefield.